How you doing? I'm Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and in this video I'm going to do an extensive review on the Bear Alaskan compound bow. I do want to thank Bear Archery for sending me the Bear Alaskan to do a review on, as well as the Bear Whitetail Legend Pro, which I did in the last video. I've actually reached out to companies in past years saying, hey, could you send me some bows so that I could do a better review at my house than, you know, like a 15 minutes at a pro shop while they're super busy. And anyway, Bear reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to review a couple bows, hear an unbiased review? And I'm like, absolutely. So they sent me these two, which I'm very grateful for. And I just spent the last 45 minutes getting this tuned up as good as possible to give you the best results. If I was in a pro shop, we wouldn't be able to do that. So out of the box, I put it on the draw board. First, I put it to the longest draw length setting to get started. This goes from 25.5-inch draw to 31, so I could actually hunt with this bow because it's long enough for my draw length. The Whitetail Legend Pro does not go to my draw length, so even if I wanted to, I could not hunt with that bow. But when I put it on the draw board, the draw stop timing was just a little bit off, like about 1/8 of an inch off. Like the bottom cam was hitting first, and that's obviously going to affect the performance of the bow. So I did some modifications to get the draw stop timing on. Also, when I initially put it on the draw board, we were getting about 69 pounds, right around there, 68, 69. After doing some adjustments, I got the draw weight to 70.5 pounds, so just like right at 70. So that's going to give us some good readings, and let's go ahead and get started. So let me talk a little bit about this bow, and I will do a comparison between this and the Bear Whitetail Legend Pro in a separate video. But this is a hybrid cam system, and this is the type of system that I became familiar with when I was shooting Hoyts back in the day. Hoyt, I think, kind of maybe popularized the hybrid cam system. What you have here is there's obviously two cables. One cable slaves the two cams to each other. Also, the cams are not the exact same shape and size. So there's a variation. Typically the top cam's a little bit more rounded, the bottom one a little more oval in shape. So anyway, there's the bus cable, which is going to connect the cam to the cam, or excuse me, the control cable. It's going to control the rotation of the cams. And then the bus cable will go from the bottom cam to the top limbs. And this has a yoke system. And the yoke system allows you to manipulate for cam lean. So if you look down and you're like, oh, I got wicked cam lean, you can add or remove twists to one of the yokes to help modify the cam lean. I'm looking at this. This is really good. The bottom cam is looking fairly straight. I mean, there's a very faint kick to the side that the cables run to, but comparing that to, say, the Hoyts that I've owned, I mean, Hoyts that I've owned out of the box have a lot more significant bottom cam lean, so they've done a good job to balance that bottom cam there. And the top one out of the box is fairly straight as well. There's just a little bit of cam lean to the side. Cam lean is not bad. Actually, you can yoke tune this bow. You're actually going to intentionally put some cam lean in a fine-tuning process to get the optimum performance. So that's one of the advantages of having a yoke system. It's just a matter of putting in a bow press, adding or removing twists to the yokes, and you're able to fine-tune for arrow flight. Now with a hybrid cam system, with the way they have this designed, there are specific draw stop locations. Now if you are in a situation where you're having really bad high, vertical knock tear, and everything else is square the way it should be, the way that I've always been able to easily correct that with this type of a cam system is you simply are going to take a half of a crank out of one of the limb bolts and then reset your cam timing by adding or removing twist to one of the cables, and then you're good to go. Now looking at this bow, it came to me with cable stops on it, and I'm going to draw it back in a minute so you can kind of see how it looks like on the back wall. I can see on here there's a place to insert a limb stop on the top cam, which this model did not come with. So when Bear contacted me and asked me to do these, take a look at these bows, review them, and I said absolutely. They said, just so you know, these are kind of like essentially floor models. Maybe like they had them sitting out at a trade show so that people could see the new lineup, and they didn't come with all the bells and whistles that they might ship with to a customer. So being that this was probably just displayed with just the cable stops, it did not have anything else in the box, so it did not have the limb stop. I may actually write to them and say, hey, do you mind sending me the limb stop? Because I like that solid back wall that a limb stop provides. Some people prefer the little bit of give that you get with a cable stop. Let me go ahead and put an arrow on and draw this back. So again, this bow is at 70.5 pounds. The draw length at the 31-inch draw mod setting actually came in measuring closer to 31.5, which is going to be more comfortable for me. But just keep in mind that half an inch is going to give us more speed. If you were to get this bow and you want to shoot it right at 31 inch, you can, because this adjusts in like half-inch increments. But for me, like if I was going to shoot this, I'd leave it on the 31-inch setting. This one was measuring closer to 31.5. But let me go ahead and draw back for you a second here. Let me point this at my target. So the back wall, because it's cable stop, you can see there's just a little bit of give, which you expect that with a cable stop. And a lot of back tension shooters like that because it forces them to pull into the back wall and then rotate out for the release for back tension. As you can see, I typically use a wrist strap style release. There's an 80% let off, so as you can see, I was able to let down fairly smoothly, and I wasn't even thinking about it because I was talking to the camera here. If you're in a hunting situation and you draw back on let's say an animal, and oh, I can't get the shot off, you can ease down like that and pull back again if when you get another shot opportunity. I like 80-85% let off. That's kind of my favorite. So let's go ahead and take a couple shots now. When I did the draw force curve, it was before I did a little the final fine tuning. So the peak weight that we hit in the draw force curve was like 69 pounds. We're actually shooting at 70.5 at this point in time. Get this ready here. .342 feet per second. That's 342 feet per second, which is above the advertised speed. And I will double check that arrow, but I'm pretty sure these are my 350 grain arrows. Yes, they are. Okay, so let's shoot another 350 grain arrow. .343. .343. So this now at this draw length, an inch and a half longer than the Whitetail Legend Pro. I thought the Whitetail Legend Pro was going to be giving me faster speeds. You got to remember this is an inch and a half longer, and as you'll see in the comparison videos, that one peaked out at like 60, 67, 68 pounds. That's actually a little faster than I was anticipating, 343. As you can see, the bow was pretty calm, like in the sense it didn't jump out of my hand. So let me take it down to the next draw length setting. We'll take it down to the 30-inch draw length setting. I'm just going to put it at the setting. So even if it measures 30.5, that's where I'm going to shoot it. We're going to see the difference every inch down though. And I'm looking forward to doing some more shooting with this even beyond this review video, just to get some time on the range with it. But let's go ahead and jump down to the next draw length setting and see what we get. Real quick clarification, I'm doing the editing and it's not the next draw length setting. It actually goes in like half-inch increments. But for these reviews, I just do it every 1 inch so that we can see the variations from 1 inch to the next. Let's get back to this video already in progress. Alright, so at the 30-inch draw length setting, the bottom draw stop came a little bit just ahead of the top draw stop. So the timing changed ever so slightly between the 31-inch draw length setting and this one. And the peak weight was at 70.18 pounds, I think it was. The draw length was just a little bit beyond 30. I think if I took the time to just tinker a little bit, it's going to be closer to 30, you know, as far as getting those draw stops dead on. But I mean, it's very, very faintly hitting before the other one. So it's, I mean, most people would just shoot it that way. I would say we're right around 30 and 3/8, 30 and a quarter, somewhere around there. Let's take a couple shots through the chronograph here. .333 feet per second. Between that last round and this one, I also emailed Bear and I was like, you know, the guy who contacted me, Alec, and I was like, hey, if you guys do make a limb stop for this, could you send me one? Because I wouldn't mind trying this out for hunting. Duplicate, 333 feet per second. So let's keep moving. See what the 29-inch draw length setting brings us. All right, now at the 29-inch draw length setting, I measured 29.5-inch draw length, and the draw stop timing went out a little bit more. Now, I want to just mention the draw module, because of the difference in the cams, it's much larger on the top cam than the bottom. There's a lot going on, and so, you know, those types of differences can be contributing to the very slight variations as we move the draw modules. It's obviously going to be changing the draw force curve a little bit, and it's a very small amount. The peak draw weight hits 70 on the dot, so we're seeing a very faint creeping down from 70.55 to 70.00 over 2 inches of draw length. Again, very minor things, just data that I can observe. I do also want to mention this. Shooting this bow, and I've only taken a few shots with it, it feels a lot like an Expedition. If you've ever shot Expedition, like I've owned Expedition, I've owned Hoyt, both are hybrid cam systems, and Hoyt totally changed their cam system over the last year. But I always wondered why Hoyt didn't try to make a bow more like Expedition, because in my opinion, Expeditions just felt so much better and delivered more speed. This bow is reminding me a lot of an Expedition. It's smooth, it's fast, and it's actually performing better than I anticipated, just not knowing going into it. So let's take a shot with it. We're at the 29-inch draw length setting, but obviously we're measuring 29.5. So let's just see where we're at. Last time we were at 333 feet per second. Let's see where we're at with the 29-inch draw length setting here. 324. So we're seeing a pretty consistent drop in speed with each inch. 325. The bow's very calm, very kind of dead in the hand. Again, like I would compare it to Expedition. Expeditions are very dead in the hand. Hoyts were always a little more jumpy than the Expedition. This one, as you can see, it didn't go anywhere. It's 324. So we're at 324 feet per second there. Yeah, so we're averaging 324 at the 29-inch draw length setting. Let's go to 28 and see what we get. Okay, so at the 28-inch draw length setting, it measured 28.5 on the dot. The draw stops were hitting pretty much the same as they were for the 29-inch draw length setting. The let's see, which one was it? The bottom was hitting just a hair before. I'm not going to retweak every single draw length. I'm actually going to go put this back at the end at 31-inch draw length where I had it dead on and leave it there so that I can shoot it. But we're going to shoot it at the 28-inch draw length setting. And the peak weight measured 68.85, so right just a hair under 70. 316 feet per second. .316 duplicate. So at the 27-inch draw length setting, the draw stop timing went out a little bit farther. Again, that has to do with the fact that we have two different shaped cams. It's not a big deal as far as it's just a matter of tuning it to you. Once it's tuned to you, you put the draw stop timing in, there you go. So the draw stop timing went out a little farther. We also had a trend back up in peak weight. We hit 70.02 pounds. So it came back up a little bit just at that 70-inch mark. So let's see what we get for speed at this draw length setting. So it's the 27-inch draw length setting, measured 27.5. If we were tweaking the draw stops timings to hit dead on, that's going to probably adjust that down a little bit. I would say it might be 27 and like a quarter or so. Let's see what kind of speed we have here. 304. 305. Get an average here. 304. So we average 304 feet per second at the 27-inch draw length setting, measuring about 27.5. Let's go down to the 26-inch draw length setting, finish this video out, and see what we get at 26 inches. Okay, at the 26-inch draw length setting, I was measuring about 26.5, but the draw stop timing was really close to being back on. So it just shows you, when a manufacturer tries to give you all of this adjustable draw length range on one module, it's not possible really to get everything dead on. They try to get the best they can, especially for the pocket. It seems like, especially around 28, 29-inch draw, that's the most common draw lengths on the market. So very often they try to hit numbers right around the best for those draw lengths in general. I'm just speaking in general. But, in order to be able to provide that long of a draw length range on one module, you're going to have some fluctuation. And so, again, once you get it set to your draw length, then you just tune it into that. We're going to shoot it here at the 26-inch draw length setting, which measured 26.5. The draw weight, again, was just a touch under 70 pounds. And the draw force curve had more of a slope off on the tail end of it compared to the others. Again, you're going to have those types of variations when you have all these different draw lengths on one module. That's why some manufacturers, 292, they actually have a different module for every draw length setting, which is kind of a pain because then you got to go and buy an extra module if you want to change the draw length. I prefer to have it adjustable on the bow like this one. Duplicate, 292. And as you can see, the bow was dead in the hand. It didn't go anywhere. So I think this is a nice bow. I like it. And for the price point, I think it's a good option. So, Bear did give me this bow to do the review on. I didn't pay for it, but I'm just still trying to be honest. I've always liked the Expedition bows, and this cam system on this one, the way this bow shoots and feels, the speed that it was providing at the 31-inch draw mod setting, which was giving me 31.5 inches. I mean, it was like 343. I mean, it really acts a lot like the Expeditions always have for me. I like the bow. The riser, it's probably like a cast riser. I didn't verify how they're making their riser, but just the feel of it as, when I'm shooting, I can just, I've shot for so long, I can feel a little difference in the riser. So it does not feel like a machined riser to me, but I didn't verify that. Even still, I think this is a nice bow overall, and I think I'm going to hang on to it for a little bit. So let's go ahead and quick look at the data. Now that I've shot the bow, I've made all these draw force curves and everything else. So on our data sheets, if you look at the top right, this is the Bear Alaskan. The brace height advertised is 3.25, and my measurement was 3.25.
What? 6.25, not 3.25. You want to talk about a brain fart after looking at a lot of data? Eesh. Little over 6-inch brace height, not 3.
For the ATA, it's 32 inch. Mine was like 32 and an eighth, so right within the tolerance. The draw length, it's a range 25 and a half to 31. My draw length measurement at the longest was 31 and a half. The peak weight is, it's 55 to 70, so you get a 15-pound weight range as opposed to just 10, which bows typically used to come in. And my peak weight just hit 70.55 at the longest draw length setting. The advertised speed is 335 feet per second for this bow. And if we're talking ATA speeds, so ATA measurements, Archery Trade Association, is 30-inch draw, 70 pounds, 350 grain arrow, 5 grains per pound. So if we're looking at the ATA rating, I was at 333 feet per second, which is right at that speed of 335 for advertised. But if we're gonna, the 31 and a half inch draw length setting at 70 pounds was 343 feet per second. We have an 80% let off. Now I will say this, the draw board that I use, I bought from Lancaster Archery Supply, which is one of the largest archery, maybe the largest archery supplier in the world. And so I'm basing my draw lengths off of their fabricated draw board. I purchased this for many reasons with the bow reviews. One is it's going to be the same draw board everywhere I go. It's portable. Also, being that I purchased it from, Lancaster Archery, I would like to hope that the numbers are right on from where they should be. Now I'm going to weigh the bow. I hadn't done that before I started talking here. So with the arrow rust on there, it's 4.34 pounds with the arrow rust. So take that arrow rust off, you're going to probably right down at 4 or just under 4 pounds. So the advertised mass weight is 3.9 pounds. I think we would be right there if I didn't have that arrow rust on there. For the back wall with the cable stops on there, it's a medium. Like you can pull into it, you can feel a little give there. And for letdown, I called it a medium. I mean, it stays on the back wall fairly well, but you can ease down very easily. Let me go ahead and just show you that again real quick. Of course, that's also at a very short draw length, so it's a little different and awkward for me at a longer draw length. But you can ease down and it comes off the wall, and it's not like I'm jumping out of my skin when it finally starts to come down. I kind of at the 90% let off for the Bear Whitetail Legend, the Whitetail Legend Pro. Really your hand comes flying out there when you're trying to ease down at that 90% draw length setting. So let's just go over all the speeds one last time. At the 31-inch draw length setting, you can see the manufacturer's listed draw length, my measured draw length, the peak weight. All the arrows were 350 grains. So at 31-inch setting, I was 343, then down to 333, 324, 316, 304, and then 292. So that'll give you a sense of where your speed might be. That's with a 5 grain per pound arrow. If you're going to be setting it up for hunting, your arrow is going to be quite a bit heavier than that, so your speeds are going to be slower, which is to be expected. But this at least gives you some sense of where it's at compared to other bows and manufacturers' ratings and things like that.
All right, so let's just compare the draw force curves real quick. Here is our draw force curve at the 31-inch draw length. And just for your own awareness, the long columns on the left here have the draw length and what the weight was at that draw length. So I didn't mention this actually in the last video on the Whitetail Legend Pro, but both on that bow and on the Bear Alaskan, you're pretty much hitting the peak weight right around 15 inches into the draw cycle. So that was consistent on both bows, the way they're designing their cams. Right around 15 inches, you're hitting the peak weight. So as you look down the column, you see all the weight at every 1 inch. And it takes a very long time to make these curves. Like when I crank up to that weight, each weight I wait at least 5 seconds for the weight to stabilize to make sure I'm getting an accurate reading. So on the right here, we see the draw force curve. It comes up, has a little dip right after the peak weight is hit, plateaus across, and then eases back down into the valley. Now let's take a look at the 30-inch draw force curve. So the 30-inch draw force curve looks very similar to the 31-inch. You hit your high point right around 15 inches, and then it plateaus off, and then kind of drops down into the valley where you're going to hit the back wall. The 29-inch, again, fairly consistent looking compared to the 31 and 30, just a little bit more rounded on the back end. And if you remember, I said, they oftentimes kind of, hit the sweet spot for the draw curve, how it feels, with a smoother back end at your 28, 29-inch draw length setting. So this one's going to have a little bit of a smoother feel going into the back wall on the 29-inch draw length setting. Not terribly noticeable, but you can see on the draw force curve here that there is a little bit more of a rounded end going into the back wall. Then when we drop down to the 28-inch draw force curve, it's even a little more rounded going into the back wall, which is just going to give you a little bit of a smoother landing the more rounded that is. You will lose a little bit of speed though as well, which we did see in the speed ratings. And then when we compare that to the 27-inch draw length mod setting, again, it's a little more of a rounded draw force curve. Your plateau is much shorter at the top, so you're coming up, hitting the peak weight, and then rounding into the back wall. A little bit more of an overall smoother cycle, and then similar to the 26-inch draw length setting, it comes up, hits the peak weight, and then more or less starts to round down into the back wall.
I do want to mention too, as far as changing the draw length setting, it's very easy to change the draw length. I mentioned this when I was reviewing the Bear Whitetail Legend Pro. The screws are on one side, the markings are on the other, so it's kind of a little pain to take the screws out, flip over, move them out, try to hold it still, flip it back over, and then try to get the screws in there without it shifting to a different slot and stuff like that. One thing that would make it just a little easier for working on it is if they came up with a marking system on the same side where they had the screws tightening in. Well, that would be nice, but it's not hard though, and the same Allen wrench fits all of the screws for changing the draw length, which I do appreciate. Now I want to remind you, as I close out this video, I am going to be doing a lot of giveaways this year in the month of November. One of the bows I'm going to give away in my giveaway is the Bear Whitetail Legend Pro. Part of me wants to keep it, just because it's a decent bow. I can't shoot it; it's a little too short for me. But it would be nice to have around. But then, thinking about it, it's like, why have an extra bow when I can share it with somebody who could be using it right now? So I'm going to be giving that one away, as well as some other products like a Gray Fox game cart, Ultimate Predator Whitetail Stalker Decoy, things like that. Visit the giveaways page of my website. It's my way of trying to say thanks to all of you who support my channel. And thanks again to Bear for sending out the bow. I'm excited to keep tinkering around with it, get it all set up, get the sight on there, and do some shooting with it. Until next time, take care and God bless.